today we have a really great program. So we talk about digital skills training activities, targeting librarians and users. We want to hear a bit about your practices in your libraries. I give you a short introduction on frameworks that might be useful to evaluate and reflect on digital skills activities. Then we have two very interesting speakers. So Maja from Prelog in Croatia, she's already there, and she will present you a fascinating program she developed in her library for librarians on data management. And then we will have a second speaker, Léa Ichikawa, from the Digital Collective. They come outside the library field, and they developed a very interesting community-based approach for digital skills training. I don't know if Léa is already here with us. You can make a sign if you are here. Yes. That's excellent. I'm happy she's there. And then we will have, as usual, we have Q&A sessions after each speaker, and we wrap up the session. And you can of course always use the chat to ask questions. Please mute yourself, and you can raise your hand, and then we pick up and you can speak during the Q&A sessions. So there are still people entering, but I will go on. So today we reflect. I just have to change the view on my screen. We reflect on evaluation frameworks for digital skills. We want to hear practical experiences on digital skills training, and we want to provide some inspiration from outside the library sector, because we feel that it's always useful. So just to introduce the topic, I thought that it would be useful to take a step back and to think, what do we mean when we talk about digital skills? What are digital skills, and where is their place in relation to other competences? So skills, this term describes a set of techniques or capacities in a specific area, but we'd rather prefer to say competences, because this concept is a more broader function, and it includes capacities of analysis and interpretation. So we would rather say digital competence instead of skills, because it's a bit more broad. And this graph you see there is a framework that had been developed by the Council of the EU, and they list the key competences for lifelong learning, and they are all interlinked, so they don't work without each other. And you see the green one, the digital competence, is part of the key competences. And digital competence, what does it mean? So what does it include? The Joint Research Center of the European Commission, they developed a digital competence framework that some of you are familiar with. We also use the abbreviation DigComp, and this includes 5 areas that can be really helpful to evaluate and to frame digital competences. So you know, well, the selfie tool that our ADELE tool is based on, and you can see that the selfie tool is actually built on the DigComp framework, and that many of the areas and then the different competences we find back in our ADELE tool. So you see the 5 areas of digital competences are information and data literacy, communication and collaboration, digital content creation, safety, and problem solving. And I had a look at our ADELE questionnaire, just checking because, oops, I cannot move my slide. 1 second. Yeah, and there you see that these are item titles from our questionnaire that actually take digital competences that are included in the DigComp framework. So you see how we are using these tools, and you can always go back to them and check and get some inspiration there. So whereas the evaluation framework for library users, they reflect more or less the DigCom framework that I was just showing you. But for ADELE, we also look at another framework that is specifically developed for educators. So educators are often teachers, mainly teachers, but also, of course, librarians. And so you can see that the skills that are required, there are different areas than the users. So the digital competence framework for educators is divided into 6 areas. And I think it makes sense just to look at it and to see, yes, this is what we are touching on when we deliver digital skills training in the library, what we need. So we think about professional engagement, the resources, the assessment, the teaching and learning activity, then the empowerment of the learners, and then in the end, the facilitation of the learners' digital competences. So this was my short introduction for you. And now we want to hear from you. So we prepared a Mentimeter poll, and Gabriele from Ergina, I think he already joined. I saw him. He will share his screen. Are you there? Hi, Gabriele. Good to see you.
Hello, everyone.
So if you go to menti.com and you enter the access code, we ask you to answer a couple of questions. So we will see and we will get some input from you to get a feeling. I don't know if you are able to share your screen, Gabriele. I will check if you should be able to do it now. Yeah. And I will maybe stop my screen sharing. Okay. Okay. Here we go. So this is internal ADELE project communication. Yeah, you are muted, Gabriele. Okay, but I mean, you can stay muted.
Yes, I just needed to move.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so ready to present. Okay, so first question.
We can put the code again into the chat. 1 second, because I will just show it again.
You can see the code up here in the presentation.
Ah, yeah, it's on top. You see it
Yes.
in the slide on top. So the Ireland, it's a big delegation. Welcome, Irish colleagues. It's always nice to see, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Bulgaria is not so well represented. It's one. Usually we have plenty of Bulgarians. So the Irish delegation is Italian. That's great. I think we can move on to the next question. Thank you, guys. Okay, so our question, the second one, is just to get a feeling how many of your libraries offer digital skills training activities for users. Okay, so we see that plenty of you do. I mean, we know, but it's good to see. There are also a couple who don't. That's interesting. We will also record all these results and we document them and we can use them later when we evaluate our projects and the needs of the libraries. That's great. Thank you, Gabriela. I think we can move on to the next question. So to those of you who answered yes in the previous question, what are the main target groups of the training you are providing in your libraries? Okay. That's interesting. We have everything. Okay, so there seems to be a focus on seniors or over 55. It's not so senior. All is relative. It depends. If it starts already at 55, older patrons, older kids and young adults. That's interesting to see, because we also have one library that is targeting adults in general. Dyslexic kids. That's very specific. I saw, but I will mention this later, but that Prelog Libraries offered a program on digital and finance skills for kids, teens and adults. That's great. I think we have a good impression, Gabriela. I think we can move to the next question, please. So this is more already an evaluation question related to areas or practices, applications. So where do you feel are the main needs of the users? Okay. Tickets, WhatsApp, all these things. We talked about this also in Brussels during our LTTA. Staying safe. This might be interesting for Léa as well already, because she's working on digital skills training programs and coding. Storage space could be useful for us. So,
in banking as well.
okay. CVs creation and editing CVs, I can see. That's so useful. This information. And I can always say again that we are in the process of collecting and editing your case studies on the projects you do in your libraries. And we have already a very fascinating collection. And we are really looking forward to share this with you, because all these, well, not all these, but many of these things will appear. Great. Thank you. Gaming. Okay, that's interesting. Thank you, Gabriela. I think we have a great impression here and we will take note. So now we ask if the staff is getting trained on digital skills. Okay. Not yet. So there is one joining in the chat. This is also great. Possible, of course. Okay. So most of you are either offering or getting training for staff, or it's in the pipeline. That's interesting to see. Okay. I think from our timing, it would be perfect to move to our first presentation. So thanks a lot. There is still another question. I think it's the last one. Yeah, this is our last question. It's a bit similar to the needs, but now related to your own needs. So, okay. social media, new technologies, AI, information literacy, security, safety. Okay. Problem solving. There is plenty to learn. This is really interesting. Social media stays big. It might be also because it's so much used, I suppose. Photo editing, disinformation, AI. I can already tell you that in our next webinar, we will talk about AI and a user tool for libraries. So you will learn about that. That's great. I think it's fine. I think we can move. Thank you. Thank you, Gabriele. That's excellent. So I will share. Thank you. I mean, many of you were in touch with Gabriele, but you probably never saw him. So this was the opportunity. I will share my screen again. Okay, because now we finally come to our first speaker. So we invited a very special librarian, Maja Lesinger from Prelog Library in Northern Croatia. And I would like to introduce her with an excellent quote I found. I hope she's fine with me quoting her like that, but I think it gives a good introduction to the committed librarian personality she is. So Prelog Municipal Library is a lighthouse library of the PL 2030 network, and they are also taking part in the ADELE project. And they are very active and innovative, and they already won several awards for their activities. So we are really happy that she's here today, and she will present a training format they developed for librarians on the topic of data literacy. And we think that this is very, very valuable for all of you. So Maja, I would like to give you the floor, and you should be able to share your screen. So I will pause mine and you can take over. So I stop it. Okay. So we can see that Maja is starting. Yeah, there she is. Okay, so we can see your presentation, but it's not yet in the presentation mode.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, but now now it worked. It's fine. It's just a bit slow.
I will do it again.
Yes. So there we see you. It's even better.
I will share my entire screen, not just the presentation. I don't know why that problem occurs to us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this will help.
Okay.
Do you see me now? Because everything is frozen.
Yeah, we see that you started screen sharing, but it's not yet there. We could also, you send us the slides, right? So
Yes.
we can also show them for you, and you just tell me when I can move to the next slide. I think you send it per
mail,
but as a PDF, right? So one second. Maybe you try just one more time, and I will, in the meantime, I open the presentation. If it doesn't work from your side, I open it from my side.
The thing is that all the commands are frozen. I cannot see Zoom at all.
Oh, well then, Maja, maybe you have to leave us for a second and we let you in
probably.
again.
Yeah,
so that's no problem. Then see you in a second.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No problem. That's fine. So I have a PDF. but it should work. Yeah. So this is not the right one. And I will now. Okay, now it is working.
Do you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Do
Excellent.
slides change?
They move.
Okay, that's it then. Yeah.
Perfect.
Hopefully it will work until the end.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Maja Lesinger and I'm a library director at Prelog Municipal Library from Croatia. I am very honored to be here today to present our Guerrilla Education for Librarians, which is a program from our library that started, believe it or not, thanks to Public Libraries 2030. So why is it? It's a funny story because in 2021, I joined the Lighthouse Libraries Initiative and I was attending a lot of webinars organized by PL 2030. So that is how I found out about an international NGO called Tactical Tech and their educational program that's called Data Detox Kit. At first, we wanted to learn the relevant topics from the kit for ourselves, for our librarians. For example, the topics that were specifically interesting to us were data, information, privacy, digital detox, and so on. And then after we learned those topics, we wanted to share them with our patrons. We thought that those topics were relevant, not only for the librarians, but also for our general public, especially after the lockdown and the coronas. And although we had to acquire extensive skill sets of using digital tools for our main work, we thought that the institutionalized courses that our Croatian National Library Association offered were just not enough. We didn't get the knowledge that we needed to do our work, and so we decided to collaborate with Tactical Tech and get what we needed for ourselves. The idea came up in April 2021 when we translated the materials into Croatian. We taught ourselves the basic knowledge and began working with our patrons. Then a series of fortunate events happened for us. Tactical Tech worked with Goethe institutes around Europe, and they wanted to organize train the trainers sessions for data detox kits, and they wanted to do the trainings in Croatia as well. So they mentioned our name to our Goethe Institute Croatian, and the head librarian, of course, it's a mafia, librarians know each other, so that, she contacted us. And then, of course, we said, yeah, yes, we are going to do the workshops, and they were held online. And they started in 2021, in October. And the second workshops that we held together with Goethe Institutes were held in 2022. After doing the training for 2 years, we kind of established our position as a small library that does great educational programs that were innovative and that are up to date. So after holding the 28 lessons, those lessons were made for librarians and for primary school teachers, for primary school students, secondary school students, and our general public. We decided that it's a good idea and we need to continue. So this is a timeline of the things that we did in 2 years. The last 2 rows you cannot see because they are a secret. Because we are going to do something new. Maybe you can see it, maybe don't, I don't know. But it's a secret, it's a project that we are working on right now. So we had 250 participants that said that what we do is okay, what we do is necessary for them, and they wanted us to continue. So it's a great feedback for us. And the general idea was to share our knowledge with our fellow librarians so they can share the knowledge with their colleagues, patrons, and so on. So we kind of did a pyramidal scheme. we started with us, and then we spread the knowledge to different libraries and different institutions, and they use their knowledge to present what they know to other to public and to their students and to their patrons, whatever. So the main aim is that we want to educate users about data privacy and risks associated with excessive data sharing. And the main goal is that the main methods that we used are presentations and online workshops that were easy to follow. You didn't have to have any specific knowledge. You didn't have to know something before coming to the workshop. And the workshop was a kind of an open dialogue between the educator and the participants, because we encouraged the participants to join in the discussion, to share their knowledge, to share their experiences, and so on. And maybe at first they were afraid because it's very interactive, and most of the lessons are usually blackened out, and then people listen to the speaker and nobody participates. So this was very different, and our public reacted very well to this, because they really had something to share with us, and nobody asked them those questions before. So they were very intrigued by the workshops, and they decided to stay, because some of the librarians were participating in 9 workshops in a row. So it was 2-month training. So it was very intensive every week for 2 hours. And in the beginning, they were very scared, but in the end, they were very, very pleased with the sessions. So we wanted to plant the seed, basically plant the seed that is going to grow and spread and contribute to the cause. So why did we call it a guerrilla education? Because this is its best form. We want to build strong community of people who have specific knowledge and who can help us develop our workshops and maybe participate in the workshops in the future. And to create a community that is interested, and they are interested in continuing the development of their skills, but they also want to contribute their knowledge in our community. So why does it work? Because we are a small library, and when we see a problem, we can react to it very quickly, more quick than maybe a big institution that has to go through a lot of levels of approving the project or the program. We kind of put the word out in the community. That's why this community is very important to us, because then we ask our friends. We see a problem, for example, and then we ask our friends, librarians, and our patrons, okay, is this topic something that you want to learn? Do you want to discuss about it, or do you want us to address the issue that you're having? And then they come with the proposals. Okay, this is what we want to hear. We are lacking in this skill. We want to learn more about it. Then we find someone in the community that knows how to do it good. And then that person comes and does the lecture for everyone. The main thing that's important here, and that's important to mention, is that everyone does their work for free. All the training is for free, and all the materials that are shared in this program, in this initiative, are for free for everyone. What is important also to say is that because we offer the program for free, a lot of participants can join in, because most of the libraries do not have the extra resources to pay for expensive education or so on. And what is good about this program, because it can be held online and offline, so you can change whatever you want in the program, and all the participants get the materials, and they can also change the materials as they like. So they can the materials are very versatile, and they can be suited for younger children. They can be suited for teen public, and they can be suited for adults and even for senior citizens. So it's not an ex cathedra lecture like I said, it's very, very interactive, and all the resources are available online. They have Creative Commons licenses, but they can be adapted, and they can be used for any purpose that you want and that you need in your library or your school. You can do the training for your fellow colleagues in school. For example, if you're a school librarian, you can teach your colleagues that are teachers about those topics. If you work in a bigger library, after the training, you can teach your colleagues about those topics that we have been working on in the webinars, or you can take the materials and develop them as you need for your public. We got a lot of good feedback from our target groups because, like I said, the materials are versatile and everyone can use it. So we got a lot of feedback because after the training, people have a need to contact us and to say, okay, you did a great thing and I want to do something else. I want to enter a congress and present a topic. They kind of feel the need that they need to ask for our permission, but that's not the case. You can use the materials and you can do whatever you want with them after you finish the course. If you feel that you need to combine 2 lectures or maybe split 1 lecture, that is no problem because the material is so good. So that is why I want to emphasize the innovation part of this material, because we did not do it ourselves, because we didn't have the resources to do it, because we didn't have the human resources and maybe not the necessary knowledge at the time. And so the Tactical Tech and collaboration with the Goethe Institute really put us in a position where we can now choose what to do, which topics to present and so on, because we got the materials already done. So that's a great thing about the NGOs, because they are not usually focused on one topic. They can do a lot of topics in different materials. I have to emphasize that there is a national media literacy portal in Croatia, and all the materials are free. Again, all the materials are free. You can use them as much as you can, as much as you like, but most of them are targeted to children, and most of them are like a class in school. So they are formatted in 45 minutes and they look like a class in school. We wanted to back away from that, and we wanted to do something very innovative and very interactive. So these tools that Tactical Tech made, Data Detox Kit, was something that was very good for us. It might not be very good for you. I don't know, maybe your library is different, maybe your needs are different, but we kind of got lucky in this way that we had a Goethe Institute that was giving us endorsement and promoting our work. Tactical Tech gave us the instruments and the materials that we could use, translate, and maybe transform into something that we needed. And with that collaboration, we just started moving into a different direction, and we started to work on our own materials. So we had the skills, we had the knowledge, we had the training, and we had the experience of teaching a lot of people, not just librarians, which are the toughest audience, I have to say. They have a lot of questions and a lot of opinions. So if you can teach something to a librarian, then you're a very good teacher. So we did something else, and now we are coming into our own feet and we are doing our own materials. As I said, we started working with our primary school and our high school, and the teens are also a very tough public, because they also have their own opinions, and they usually have a guard when you want to teach them something. They want to defend themselves right away, because they think that you are going to I don't know, fill their heads with something that they want to hear. But this lecture gives you the opportunity to listen to them, and the gold thing about this is, as an educator, you also learn a lot from the public that you educate. So it's an exchange. It's a two-way street, and you have to listen to the public, and the public listens to you. And what is most important in this entire program, if you are not comfortable in any topic or in the topic that you are teaching, you don't have to be an expert. You can stick to the things that you know, and then ask questions, because usually there is 1 or 2 people in the room or in the Zoom that know some things better than you. And you don't have to feel, I don't know, ashamed or threatened by that, because the main thing of this entire guerrilla education is to exchange ideas, to exchange knowledge, to hear what people think. Because when we do the programs, that's why the ADELE tool is very important, because you have to assess. Sometimes we have a problem in our mind, and then we do a project, but we do not do a research. And then we, in the end, we realize that people that we are doing this project for do not feel that the same as we did. So the exchange of ideas is very important in this program. And like I said in the beginning, small libraries have the advantage above the big institutions, because everything can move very quickly in our institution. We can develop and implement idea in a matter of a couple of months. But if we have a good public and good community, sometimes we can do it in 2 weeks. So that is very, very well. Because we have an example, we wanted to talk about AI, because our book night was themed AI in libraries. And when the topic was announced in January 2023, a lot of librarians did not know what AI is, how to use it in the library. So in 2 weeks, we asked the people, okay, do you need any education about this topic? Because it's a book night, everyone is going to do a program. Can we help you, and how can we help you? And they got us some good feedback, and we found 2 people that could do the lecture from our community that were interested in doing the lecture for free, again, for free. And we did the program in 2 weeks. So flexibility is the key. You can do the program for yourself in your library. You can use the materials, but the community is the key. Like I said, it wasn't easy for us. Many people were skeptical because of the length of the program, because of the format of the program. Everything was online, because you had to commit to 9 weeks of doing the program to become a trainer. So that was everything was against us. For example, I can say that everything was against us. But when you relax and when you go into the program, and when you start thinking about the topics, and when you see that you use the tools and you make decisions on everyday basis, not just in your work, then you start thinking about the topics, and then you became hooked. People became hooked. And I got emails from people that were saying, oh my God, how algorithms work. It's so complicated, but when you explained it, I saw what internet was doing to me. So are those shoes really what I need, or are those algorithm based commercials, do they want me to get something that I don't need? So this is a discussion that's an everyday topic. It's not specifically librarians. So you can discuss the topic with your patrons. You can discuss the topic with teens, especially on security and safety. And you have to encourage participants to share their opinions. So that's the most important part. The tip is this. So we have a recipe, but recipe is also an algorithm. And if you want to change anything in the algorithm, the outcome might be different, but it will suit your needs. So now you know what algorithm is. I know that you know how to bake something. And if you want to ask me any questions or offer any kind of cooperation, I'm here.
Thank you, Maja. This is so inspiring, and we really love this aspect that you are using the intelligence of the peers, the group, the community, and that we are also always looking for techniques to create communities that become self-sustainable. So I think this is really excellent. We have time for one question, and then it's already a good transition to our next speaker. But are there questions? Is there anybody who wants to congratulate you on this program. So then I will share my screen for a second just to introduce our second speaker. And she will also talk about a community-based approach. But let me first check, because now I have I have to set it. Everything is a bit voila. So I'm really happy to introduce our second speaker. So Léa Ichikawa is she's bringing some inspiring insights from outside the library field. She is program manager at the Digital Collective. The Digital Collective is an organization working on digital inclusion of vulnerable communities at EU level, and they support basic digital training through adult training programs all over Europe. So they support local training programs, and she will tell us more about this. And what is also interesting with DigiCo is that they offer a self-evaluation tool to help individual assessing their digital skills. It's called Skillify. So it's different from the ADELE tool, of course, but it's very useful to look at it. And it's great to see that there are similar tools available there. And we look forward to hear about her approach. So Léa, I invite you to share your screen and take the floor. So I stop mine. Yes, it's working. We don't hear
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we
Can
can
you see my
see
screen?
it.
Okay, super. So just give me a second. You can still see it, yes?
Yes, we
Okay.
can see it.
Super. Thanks a lot, Luca, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Léa. I'm really happy to be joining you. As Luca said, I come from a sector that's a bit outside of the library, but it's directly related, of course. And we are talking today about digital skills, where while at DigiCo, we work on digital skills training for adults at non-formal education level. So today I will present to you a bit our approach to digital skills training with a specific focus on inclusion, because we are an organization actually fighting for radical digital inclusion at the European level. So our approach and in everything that we do is really focused on inclusion, accessibility, and this spirit of equality to integrate everyone within the digital transition. So I'm super excited to tell you a bit about our European practices. And I think some things will resonate a bit with the presentation before, and I'm very happy to be taking any questions at the end. Okay, so a bit about what we do at the Digital Collective and what is our mission, so that you understand where we stand and how we came across all those learning and those best practices. So we are a nonprofit organization based in Brussels. We work at the European level for the digital inclusion of marginalized and vulnerable communities across Europe. Of course, that's when we talk about marginalized communities, it can mean a lot of things. I'm going to go through that in a moment. But basically, we work with people who have low digital skills or no digital skills at all. So essentially, what we do is we want to give individuals the opportunities and the tools and the pathways they need in order to strive and be able to fully benefit from the digital transition that we're living in. And for this, we work with nonprofit actors, public actors, and private actors as well. So we have a very broad spectrum of different stakeholders. And we work on it in a collective manner. This means that we have a community of practice where we share best practices. We share some success stories, some project highlights, and a lot of nice knowledge and nice learnings. And some things that I will mention today, we are sharing this also in our community of practice. Okay, so let's start from the very beginning, because within our European work, we realize and we encourage as well the use of frameworks. And we think it's really crucial to be starting with a framework as a reference and as a scaffold that builds any kind of training taking place. So I want to first explain a bit why frameworks are so important, and also why an application area is so important. And then I will deep dive a little bit into the framework DigiComp, which Luca briefly introduced at the start. And that's actually the framework we use on our day-to-day basis. So we are very, we have a lot of knowledge on it, and that's also the framework we use for our self-assessment tool to test digital skills. So frameworks are important because they build, let's say, the bones of the body of your training. So if there is no framework, it's very difficult to make everyone agree on what we're studying, what we're training upon. And frameworks also enable alignment between trainers, but also what the labor market might need, and also how other educational institution, what they might need. So frameworks is really let's say, common language that's you need in order to build a qualitative training in digital skills. Actually, to give you a very concrete explanation on why it's important to have one definitive framework, there was a study that showed that there are more than 13 frameworks on digital literacy. So if you choose a framework from the start, you need to continue with using that throughout the end, and that will make sure your training is of quality. Right, so the framework that we use at DigiCo at the European level is actually the Digital Competency Framework for Citizen, also called DigiComp for its short name. DigiComp, and I'll show you this really nice graphic. As Luca mentioned, and I will go quite briefly, it looks at digital skills through 5 areas of knowledge, of application. So we're looking at 5 areas. Of course, there are some skills that might overlap amongst those areas, but as you see, there's information data literacy, communication, digital content creation, safety, and problem solving. What is really interesting with this framework, and I would encourage everyone to be using it and get to know about it, is that it looks at digital skills from a pretty comprehensive way, because it looks at the knowledge, skills, and also the attitudes relating to digital tools that a person can use day to day. And it also looks at 8 different levels of digital skills amongst those 5 areas. So it's a very comprehensive framework, and the declination of this in an applicable way is what we have done at DigiCo with our self-assessment tool, in which we take all those amazing definition of skills and put it into questionnaire where people can test, okay, which level I am at for information and data literacy, for example. So now, going into how to design a digital skills training that is closest to the community needs and that is really targeted. What's very important, one second. What's very important is that we realize that within Europe, so there are 42% of adults that lack basic digital skills. So that's an enormous number. Maybe some people never heard of this number, but it's a really big number. But when we look at those 42%, we're asking ourselves, who is it that we're talking about really? And not only who is it, but how can we make sure that the approach in order to solve those gaps in digital skills is targeted to the needs of those people? So within our European experience, as I said, we do realize that the only way forward in order to reduce those 42% of people lacking basic digital skills is to adopt a targeted approach, so a targeted skilling, training approach, as well as a community-based approach. And when I say community-based, I mean looking at the community needs and challenges and consider all those specific barriers that they face towards digital skills on a day-to-day basis. Now, I want to show you a really interesting policy study that was actually done by the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. This is a study that was released, I think, middle of last year, which looks at which are the main priority groups that require digital skills training. And that looked at specifically on the work environment and employment, but I think it is very much applicable to generally digital skills in general, not just for employment. So you might not see in really big letters, but this table on the right side looks at a few priority groups who lack digital skills the most. And we can see that most of the time the characteristic or the criteria that leads to that can be related to low level of education. It can be related to age as well. Sometimes it can be related to someone who's already unemployed. Also, it can be related to people being in some rural areas, and as well can be related to people coming from a migration background. Of course, this is just a snapshot. That I'm not saying that this image is the whole truth. There are other criteria to also be looking at, but I'm showing this to showcase that for all these target groups individually, there needs to be targeted training in order to have a qualitative outcome at the end. And I think that's really, really important. That's where I want to start my presentation. So what we see with our European experience that works in terms of digital inclusion and digital skills training are three of those components. So we realize that digital inclusion and digital skills in general needs to be integrated within services that people already use. A great example is libraries, so that's why I'm here today. But basically, bringing digital skills and digital tools in general towards a place where they already are, we see that this works the best instead of having this necessarily in a separate, training center. That's how you get closer to what the community needs, and that's how also you go against the barriers that they might face. And I'm going to go a bit into that in just a moment. Then the second point we see, and with a lot of projects that we worked on, this is something that comes up all the time, is that participation of the target group and also the co-design of the target group relating to that training is so important, and that would really ensure that the training is relevant to them, relevant to their daily life, and at the end that really benefits them the most. So there are different ways to do that, of course, and I'm sure you're very much aware. Sometimes it can be very challenging to do that because of different barriers. Can be language, can be literacy, but we do see that in order to have like success, participation, co-design with your learners is really key. And then last but not least, a learner-centered approach. That can also mean a lot of things. I'm gonna show this in just a moment, but really making sure that you're closest to the characteristic of your learner, whether it is the level of literacy, level of language, the devices that they already have. That is also very important. So if you have those three ingredients, we believe that you can make a nice cake of digital skills training. So more specifically, what are we looking into? So this is this really nice graphic is actually a toolkit that we posted on our website. You can have a look. So this graphic, what does it show essentially? So it shows how to tailor and design a digital skills training that answer to the best as possible and to the closest as possible the needs of your target groups. So I'll let you have a quick look. I'm not going to go into each detail, but you can see, I think the most important here is to see that the target group is the foundation of the training, and it's really the roots of it. So really understanding the needs, the interest, the background, the barriers that they face on a day-to-day basis would be what defines later on how you frame and how you design your training, right? So once you get to know that very base, that foundation of your house, then you will only be able to start defining your training, and then defining your evaluation methods, making sure that people are motivated, and then the setting. The last one is actually the format. Is it online or offline? Is it synchronous or asynchronous? How much support do you give to your learners? Another thing I want to highlight on this graphic, and again, you can have a look at it on our website, is the motivation part. As you are really aware, and I think was super interesting to look at the different target groups that come to your libraries for digital skills training. Each individual might have different motivations, and most of the time it's difficult to motivate people to get into training when they are adults, right? If they're already working, for them, it's not a priority to be training themselves. So motivation is within digital skills training, also especially at the basic level, and also within digital inclusion, is actually the #1 topic that we talk about all the time, because it's about making sure people realize the relevance and why they need training, how does it apply to their day-to-day life. And then during the actual training, it's really important to manage the expectations, right? Making sure that, the schedule of the training fits with them. All this relates to motivation. And again, motivation throughout the whole time, it will be something that comes up often. Now, I want to move into a more specific, concrete application. I will show you. So when we talk about barriers and solutions, so as I mentioned, barriers is basically what is it that your target group have difficulty with in order to access training, in order to gain more digital skills? What is it? So I put some examples there. So we have, for example, literacy problems, people who cannot read or write, language problems, socioeconomic status, time dedication, motivation. So I already discussed a few of those. And then the most important for me is actually the solution side, because of course we're talking about digital, digital skills gap, but our end goal is digital inclusion, right? Is that everyone has digital skills. So I'll give you an example, but we have a few, training programs that we support, for example, in the Netherlands, where our partner train individuals who have difficulties reading and writing. They have a low literacy level. And we see that a solution for that is within the training to use more images, less text, obviously, and more simple language, as easy as possible, and also demonstrate things rather than explaining things, in a written way. So for example, you're running a session, you can just show how you do it with the mouse. A few other examples, but for example, for people who are from foreign nationalities and cannot speak the language fluently, we also see that assessing the language skill of the person is super important before getting started in the training, and again, using simple language. Another example I really like is actually the time dedication. Learners who might not have time for training, for example, because of family engagements, for example, mothers that might be at home. What you can do in those fields is to offer training that fits with their agenda, actually. So either evening classes or weekend classes. As well, you can also offer online classes, because that is easier to with the work balance and training balance. And then last but not least, motivation, I mentioned already, but it's so important to showcase the daily application and the daily relevance of those digital skills they will earn on a day-to-day basis. So, speaking about digital skills in very abstract terms, for example, through Digicomp, for the end learner, talking about Digicomp, we see that it's not really working, because they think it's very abstract, and I completely understand why. But talking about how those information data literacy skills can enable them, to look for a doctor appointment, to book a train ticket, or also to look at their children grades through the parents portal. That's a way to make obvious the relevance of those skills, and in that way motivate them to continue learning. And again, motivation is really key there. Another thing we see is the use of reward or play, having small encouraging activities that rewards them at the end of a long session or a long module. That's super important as well. Right, so I spoke a lot, but I want to show you 2 concrete examples that exemplify everything I just mentioned. So we have been very, very lucky to be supporting a few training programs with some grants in the past year. And there's a lot of learning that we can take from those. And those 2 programs, they focus specifically on individuals who have no digital skills or low digital skills, and they work with those those target groups for a really long time, so they're really close to the needs of those communities. And we see an amazing success of those programs. So I think it's really nice to be sharing those positive stories. So in Germany and Denmark, our partner Ready School of Digital Integration has undertaken 2 training programs, which looked specifically at people with refugee backgrounds and migration backgrounds to teach them digital skills. The application area in that case was specifically for the job market, specifically to look for jobs within the German context and the Danish context. They used the Digicom framework to frame their training, and they also used our platform Skillify for self-assessment in order to test their students. How did they do it? So they had digital skills training in a classroom in basis, and they also had some career workshop together with this digital skills training in order to accompany the person not just with the skills but also how to apply those skills on a career perspective, right? And we do see that at the end, we evaluated the program, and there was an increase of 29% in digital skills. And to evaluate that, we used actually Digicomp in order to understand how much that there was change, right? So this is a really nice program. I invite you to have a look at what they do. Already, they're an amazing organization, and they have a lot of great learnings. Now, the second project that we supported is a project run by Le Monde des Possibles in Belgium. We're situated in Belgium, and this is 1 hour away from Brussels, actually. And this was a training that was more intensive. So there was 1 month of training, 5 days a week, I think 4 hours a day. So about 20 hours a week of training for individuals. So at the end, 80 hours in a month time. And that is showed by also the increase of digital skills that is higher than the other one that was a bit less intensive. And in that case, they actually used participatory approach and co-design approach in order to build their curriculum at the very start. And I think it really shows with the success at the end how this co-design was really key to build a training that was as close as possible to the needs of the communities. Again, I invite you to have a look at what they do. They are really amazing. Have some photos there that shows the training itself, and we're really proud of these projects. And again, so regarding what I mentioned earlier, we do see that being the closest to the community needs, assessing the target groups from the very, very, very early stage, and ideally co-designing them in a participatory method is the best way forward. Now, the next thing I want to show you is actually our platform Skillify, which Luca mentioned also a little bit. So Skillify is a platform that we built on our own that is based on Digicomp. So it basically took Digicomp as a framework and put it into a questionnaire. Actually, there was a questionnaire that was already developed from Digicomp at the EU level, and we put that questionnaire within a platform and a tech product. What is super important, and to exemplify what I mentioned earlier about being closest to the needs of the communities and having inclusion in mind, is that we built this platform after many consultation with our partners, and also many consultation directly with the pilot users. So directly individuals who have low to no digital skills, and we build it in a way that is very, very easy to use, and that is very intuitive, that also uses motivational languages and positive imagery, very multicultural imagery as well, in order for it to be, an easy entry into the assessment of digital skills. Because as we know, individuals who have low digital skills, they also might be a little bit afraid, frustrated, a bit not keen basically to be using such platforms. So we really took that into consideration, and we made sure that it's as positive as possible, and it's a safe environment. So I invite you to have a look as well. You can find it by typing Skillify and then the Digital Collective. I will send you the presentation later on, and you can also have a look. right now, this platform is available in 7 languages. So I can tell you the languages. It's available right now in German, Czech, French, English, Arabic, Danish, and Ukrainian. You might ask yourself why those 7 languages, because actually it's the languages that our partner worked with. So all the target groups were speaking those 7 languages. So we made sure it was localized to their language in order to make sure it was accessible and really inclusive. So that's it for me. I'm ending with this platform, but if I had a few words to say, it's that it's really important again to knowing your target groups as much as possible, making sure that the solutions is closest to them as possible, co-designing and making sure that they participate in the process, also listening to their needs, of course. And last but not least, as a European organization, I want to emphasize that it's so important to share knowledge the same way we're doing it now. Share knowledge, share the best practices. In this way, we can really, influence each other in a positive way, make sure that the digital divide is decreased. So that's it from me. And I'm very happy to connect with each of you. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me at the following email address. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Léa. This is really inspiring for us, and it's also a great idea to combine Skillify with ADELE, because actually it could be useful if you develop training opportunities for users to have an assessment tool of their digital skills, which we don't develop with ADELE. So I think it's very useful, and also your insights looking at the conceptual phase for designing a training can be very helpful for librarians. So I think this is great, and we will promote your material and share the information. So I hope that there will be further cooperation with you and the libraries. Are there any questions? We are already a bit over time. There are no questions. Oh, in the chat. So Juliette, what is the question? I will mute myself.
Yes. Hi. So the question is, what methods do you recommend for performing a group's needs analysis, survey, interview, etc.? So I think this is more for Léa.
Yeah. What method do you for performing? So that's a really important question, actually. I think, well, survey interviews can give you a very different set of data. I'm working towards interviews in general because it gives you more in-depth knowledge into the barriers, and not just in a quantitative way with a survey. I would recommend interview, but I think it's important to, if you do an interview, to look at quite different types of profile and not just one type, because in that way you'll be able to get the different experiences, and you might identify similar problems but explain and lived in a different way regarding digital exclusion. So survey, I think, is best, but then of course it depends on your capacity. And if you have 500 people, a survey is better, but if you have a short a small group, interview is better.
Thank you, Léa. So I think we can invite everybody who is still with us to turn on their cameras, and we can take some screenshots to document our session. So if you are still there, let's smile and wave. You can make noise if you want. So yeah, and it's so good to see you. And I take the opportunity.
Thank you. Bye.
Yay, still to remind you that our next webinar will take place on 10 October, same timing, and we talk about new technologies with a specific focus on a young public. And we have 2 great projects from Denmark and the Netherlands, so we hope to see you there. Do you have everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
I can take.
I mute myself.
Hi, sorry, we're in the same room, so we're making sure there's not too much echo for you. So I'll just count down from 3 and then take a screenshot so that we are all ready. All right. 1, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Thank you all so much. So great to see also some familiar faces as well. So thank you. I'll hand over back to Luca.
So just to say bye-bye and thank you very much for the speakers and also to the participants, of course. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.